And so is COVID. Shocking, but not really. I mean, we all knew it was coming, right? We all knew once the other layers to the gameplay and the other strategies that would be employed came up and were rendered useless, then they'd go back to COVID. I mean, seriously. How many variants did they go through? How many variants did they try before they said, all right, we're going to move on to something else? And did you not think they would go back? Did you really not think they would go back and try and give us another scare? If climate change isn't working, if the nonsense that they're spewing about, these storms getting worse and it being our responsibility and because of us isn't working, if the aliens aren't working, then by all means, bring back COVID. Oh, there's a new deadly variant. You should be afraid. Be very, very afraid. Start masking up. Start telling the hospitals to mask the patients. Get ready. Lockdowns are coming back. Which way do we go? Which way do we go? I beg and plead with you to stop complying. Give it up. Never wear a mask again. I know there's plenty of people out there that are still wearing them in their cars, driving alone, and God forbid we destroy the illusion for them because they are enjoying this. Or if not, they are the most afraid people in the world. Either they're virtue signaling and it's a bunch of bullshit, or they are the most scared people on earth. I feel for them if they're afraid at this point. I feel for them if they were petrified and afraid to begin with. But rationality should have taken over and taken control by now. And I'm sorry, we cannot let the weakest in society dictate the terms for the rest of us. That's just unacceptable. I refuse to call you a woman if it's obvious your size 12 don't fit in heels and that wig is ready to fall off your head. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to lie for you. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything because you have something going on in your psychology inside of your head that just doesn't line up with reality. It's irrational. It would be lying, and it would be absolutely the worst thing to do. I think it's the worst thing to do if you're going to appease somebody's irrational, decisions with, sugarcoating things or lying to them or fibbing to them or playing a silly game. I don't care how much attention you need or how desperate you are for it. I'm just not going to give in. And I am definitely not going to give in to this COVID bullshit again at all or anymore. And your feelings are not relevant to me anymore. I think we all need to take a really strong, somewhat aggressive stance with this bullshit now. I'm not going to have the conversations in the grocery store. I'm going to go get my stuff and get the hell out of there. And if you want to be one of the Karens or one of the Debbie Downers who decides you're going to address people, well, fuck yourselves. That's how I feel. And I think that's how we all need to feel now. The most malleable, most weak in society cannot dictate terms for us any longer. I think we need to drop all the bullshit across the board. And when I say that, I mean, look, during COVID, we all had plenty of time to do diligent research on what was being spoon-fed to us or what was being told to us by the media, the doctors, and all of these other health experts. If you didn't, you went along with it to a certain degree or to the entire degree. And we've seen the people that went along with it entirely have faced significant consequences. Myocarditis. The people that are vaxxed are sick. Look, there are remedies out there, I hope, and there are remedies out there that are being shared for the spike protein and for dealing with this stuff on the back end of treatment, if that's what you want to call it, or of taking the vaccines. But there's not a lot of people dealing with the psychological effects of going along with this horse shit for as long as we have, or the people that did. The mask in themselves, the social distancing, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And by now you should have had time to understand that. Time to do a little bit of reflecting on the past couple of years and rationalize this shit. Just rationalize it. Repeating a lie a million times does not make it true. And no matter how many times they present us with this whole viral nonsense, it's not true. It's not true. Don't you remember the swine flu and the avian flu and all of these other epidemics and things that they tried to shove on the world before COVID? Please go back, do a little bit of research. Just do a little bit. There's plenty of people out there. There's plenty of people, papers that have been put together and studies that have been done that debunk the narrative that we need to worry about this, first of all. Second of all, that we need to comply with tyrannical advice in any way, shape, or form. It's absolute nonsense. The inventor of the PCR test, Kary Mullis, mentioned that we couldn't use these tests for what they wanted to use them before he died. I'm pretty sure he died. But he mentioned, look, the viral load, you can test anything, and if you have the right CT value for these testings, you will get false positives, and I think that was proven true over and over and over again with people sending in samples of fruit, their pets, all kinds of weird stuff. People were sending in samples and getting COVID positive results. You have 3 tests in one day and have 2 different results within an hour or two. You have these people sitting in their cars in line, and they're sick, sure, but they're not sick from a virus that they caught from their neighbors or that they got off a handrail somewhere. They're sick because they have a sick environment. And I think that's another thing that, look, there was plenty of people that were screaming from the mountaintops, look, this is all theory, and it's nonsense theory. When you really, really inspect it, it's not the pathogen, it's the environment. It's been proven over and over and over again. Iceman, we've talked about doing ice baths and breath work. Wim Hof, he had a pathogen shot directly into his bloodstream, and he remedied it himself with his immune system based upon the environment that he had created with his breath work. We are overloaded with stress. And when you cannot recover, your body is bound to have symptoms of dis-ease, of sickness. And when you're bombarded, which we are, we're bombarded with technology, with poisons in our food, with unhealthy food, with totally non-nutritional food that's not really food people are consuming all day, every day. Our water's poisoned. There's atrazine and fluoride and all of these other things that are constantly getting pushed through your system. If you are a bitter person, if you're an angry person, if you are a lonely person, if you are a scared person, all of these contribute to a state and to a conditioning of your environment which leaves you and renders you ill. Of course you have to detoxify some of these things. And of course the signs of detoxifying heavy metals and pollutants and all of the other pathogens that we are introduced to on a regular basis it's going to show itself as a sickness. Oh, what is the name of that book? The Invisible Rainbow. I've talked about it before, I'll talk about it again. It shows the technological advancements and the illness in the world, the sickness that was on display in great numbers at the same time as technological advances. why has this been so shunned by the experts? Because they work for pharma. Because they work for pharmaceuticals. I was just reading something about the incentivizations that doctors had to push the COVID vaccine. It was no different than their incentives to push all the other vaccines. Their paid bonuses. Big money. These people do not care about your health. The reality is the experts and the people in charge do not care about your health. Stop complying. What they are telling you across the board is bad for you. It's the absolute opposite of what you should be doing if you want to be healthy. It's like the vegan diet, the plant-based diet thing. These people are incentivized to sell you pea protein and to sell you monocrops because it is lucrative. It is so profitable. It has absolutely nothing to do with your health. In fact, it weakens you. It makes you more malleable, makes you easier to control. If you want to eat right, eat what was available 150 years ago. Eat what your grandparents ate. Eat what was available right there locally on your little farmstead. You'll be far better off. Grow your own if you want the vegetables. Not for me, but if you want them, grow your own. Try not to grow GMOs. Try not to spray it down with pesticides. It's mind-boggling to me that people will acquiesce when this comes back around, but they will. They will. The writing is on the wall. There are people that are just going to do what they're told. The small percentage, I hope it's a small percentage of the population that will just consistently give up every bit of decision making and outsource it all to the experts. And as long as the expert on the television tells them what to do or tells them the things that need to be done, they're going to do them. Not me. One of my biggest disappointments was watching people that I swore were a lot stronger and had, in my opinion, no excuse to make irrational decisions. Make those irrational decisions and do exactly what the health experts had told them to do. And I know a lot of people went into the grocery stores and wherever else they were doing business, and they just did it because it was easier than having a conversation or being that guy. But we all got to be that guy. Now, we all have to be that guy who just does not give a shit. I'm going to go about my business and live how I know is best for me to live. That doesn't mean conflict everywhere. I don't want conflict with Karen or any of the other people that have the audacity to raise their voices in public places or let their opinions, their stupid opinions, be known. I don't care. I don't want to see kids in masks again, that's for sure. I don't want to see people going through this bullshit fear porn. But maybe it is exactly what we need. Maybe we need to see this tried again, and then everybody that has an ounce of backbone left just stop complying. I would have hoped a long time ago that people would have realized how compliance is not the way. Compliance is not the way. Especially when you've already seen that there are bad intentions across the board from authorities that do not give a shit about you and probably want you in a pine box. They probably want you in a pine box. Population control. That's not a conspiracy theory. These people speak openly about having too many people in the world and needing to stop procreation and to slow down populations and to even eliminate us. These people do not care about you or your well-being. I don't even know where to start on the whole idea of them shutting us down again and, shutting the beaches and the parks. And I don't know what the best advice is And I don't know what the outcome will be. But I do know by now we should all have a megaphone and we should be screaming at the top of our lungs, fraud, fraud, fraud. Because that's exactly what this is proven to be already. They want you to take this vaccine every season like a flu vaccine. They won't stop until they've monopolized your health-making decisions and everything else in your life. You see the pay with your palm at Whole Foods now? No, it's not an injection. It's not a chip underneath your skin yet. It's being pushed in the name of convenience. But there's kooks that are happy to do it. You have to be out of your mind. It's insane. It's insane to me. I hope I don't have to take a flight in the next few months. If they try this nonsense, I think we should all be at the airports with, even if we're not flying, with the absolute most overwhelming protest possible. Anywhere and everywhere they think that they can get away with making us conform into these mandates or these restrictions. I think we need to protest like we've never protested before. The sheer volume of people raising their voices and uniting against this, it should be overwhelming. We should run these people out of their office, out of their career choices. These health officials have got to go. It's clear they're bought and paid for. They know nothing about health, or they are all in on making you unhealthy. Take your pick. Take your pick. Turn off the TV. It's time the media, legacy media, is ended for good. It's time they're done. We should be protesting outside of CNN and NBC and every single one of these networks in such volume that it is overwhelming. They are the enemy of the people. They are not the purveyor and the sharer of what's relevant news to anyone in this country or anyone in the world for that matter. It's clear by what they've ignored and what they admonish, and it's clear by what they do share. Maui is a good example. They are locking that place down and not letting any of the truth out, and they're doing their best to convey a message which we all know is baloney. We all know it's a lie. Stop complying. That's it. Bring back COVID. Go ahead. Let's see what happens this time. I hope your sleeves are rolled up, and I hope the gloves are off. And I hope there's enough of us on board to really shut this down in its tracks. I'm Josh Button. It was just a couple thoughts on this whole COVID coming back today. I will have a show tomorrow, I believe, definitely one at the end of the week, where I'm going to have some guests on. We'll talk about some of this, I'm sure. But we'll talk about some subjects that are, on a lighter note. Jiu-jitsu. Talk to a friend of mine and a professor about some jiu-jitsu. Talk to a couple people on things that are unrelated to all this tyrannical bullshit. Have a good day. Josh Button Podcast. Talk to you soon.